Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hi, Steve. I just got in the front door about 12 minutes ago off of a hike. So this is Dan the Hiking Geeks, Tech It in the Shorts. I intend for this to be a new series. Although I've been a speaker at Tech Club many times, I found that it's a huge investment for myself and for our speakers. And as a result, it's kind of hard to fit slots, especially in the summer. I have a lot of things that I can talk about almost offhand, but when I think about Tech Club presentation to dozens of people, especially live, it's a lot more of a concern, time commitment for me. And so I decided I would try to take it down a notch, at least for the summer, and start a new series called Tech Shorts or Tech It in the Shorts, and present shorter topics that are less complex, things that I can talk about easily, and not go as in depth as I might otherwise, but leave it open for questions for people to get back to me later at the end of the meeting or later to get into more depth if you like to. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and let's see. Oops, okay. This title of this presentation is PC or Mac, neither. And I left it kind of open in the advertisement, but today's talk is going to be primarily about Chromebooks. And for many of you out there, it might be a good solution. It might be, for many, it might be a transitional solution. And for some of you, you might be very happy with what you're doing. Especially if you're a longtime techie, you will understand what your needs are. And this may or may not meet your needs, but we'll talk about that more. Is everybody able to see and hear okay? I'm guessing since I asked that question 5 minutes ago. Jane, okay, good. I see your thumb up, so I'm assuming we're okay. And I'm going to get going. A couple of caveats first. As usual, the audience has a wide range of experience, and I'm trying to target the middle ground here. So hopefully some of this may be over your head for some of you. Some of it might be way too obvious for you. It's a broad audience and I'm trying to hit the middle ground. I am your host and presenter today. We are on Zoom only. And so I can't do too many things at the same time. If you're chatting or texting at me, I might miss it. And I'm going to also ask you to hold questions to the end unless it's something that is particularly critical. If I missed an important point, and you want to call my attention to it, please feel free to interrupt under that circumstance. A lot of these questions are going to be very personal and might be better handled afterwards. Like I use this specific application that nobody else has ever heard of, but so please hold those kinds of questions. Another thing about these tech shorts is my intention is to be able to follow up a little bit more. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this yet, but I'm thinking of creating an email list, per topic email list, or maybe a blog. And so if you are interested in this topic and would like to kind of keep in touch with any follow-ups, any questions that people ask, I'm going to try to do that a little bit more, shift some of the effort farther downstream. So please send me a message with the subject Chromebook interested. And I will, that means I'll put you on the list or to at least point out new blog entries if that's the way I do it. We'll figure it out as we go along. This is the first of many, hopefully. And I'd like to make sure that the people that want to be more engaged with this topic can be so over the future, along with other people, kind of a special interest group on Chromebooks from Tech Club. Okay, as part of the process of making this easier, you probably heard a lot about AI and ChatGPT and so forth. Google has their own version of ChatGPT that's called Bard. And I thought, I was experimenting with it. I thought, hey, I've got this presentation coming up. Maybe I should ask Bard to do some of my work for me. And so I did that. And one of the first questions I asked is, why do I hate my PC? These are Bard's responses. I barely edited it. I've highlighted some things, etc. But the number one thing, and I can definitely relate to it, is that PCs can be very frustrating to use, especially as they get older. There's lots of things, slow startup times, crashes, software problems that we run into when we're using a PC. And I've been using a PC now for 30 years plus. And I've gotten to the point where, some of these things should have been fixed a long time ago, or I don't want to deal with them anymore. It just causes my blood pressure to go up. And I'm sure some of you are in the same boat. Others might be, okay, well, this is how PCs work, and I like becoming a professional in the nitty-gritty corner cases. Second issue is the security risks. As we all know, if you got a PC, you probably need to be running some virus software, some malware software. I'm involved in a lot of clubs and track a lot more. And as a result, my name is widely known within the community. And I'm one of the people that gets the messages that says, do you use Amazon? Which means that one of my friends had their email hacked. There's all sorts of security risks that are associated with the PC and with the Mac. And those become a major headache over time. And there are things that we just, as users, don't want to worry about. You want to go buy something on Amazon, you want to read your email, but you don't want to deal with all these other things. PCs can be expensive. As I said, if they're slow, it can be frustrating. So people tend to invest a lot more money in a much more powerful PC, which is outdated a couple of years from now. Then maybe they do something that they could do on a different machine. Video editing, I was just talking to somebody how I do that on my phone now. I don't need a PC for that. As we know, they can be complex. They're especially if you're not real familiar with computers, if they're kind of new to you. And there's all sorts of things you have to, I got to install, you have to configure, you have to do this, you have to do that. And there's so much time invested in getting a PC working that has nothing to do with getting the job done that you want to get done. And on reliability, you have data on that, maybe your most important pictures or recordings. And if you have failures, you might lose that. So we go through a lot of effort to ensure we have backups or some way of having additional ways to access our data. And that's just another thing that we don't necessarily need to be able to do. So in parallel, I also asked, why do I hate my Mac? And they're pretty much the same reasons, except Macs are typically more expensive and have less software, harder to plug things into. Bard seems to think this is a Google application, a Google AI. So they think Apple customer support can be difficult. I think Google is myself, but they're harder to customize. They're more secure than a Windows, but they're still not immune to it and may have shorter battery life. So that's really what Bard said. And I just thought I'd repeat it. But what I say is that a PC or a Mac is really overkill. It's insecure. It's frequently frustrating. It's annoying for 90% of what Anthem Ranch computer users do. But what else is out there? Most of us don't really know what the choices are. So I asked Bard, why do I love my Chromebook? And I use Chromebooks every day. It's really my primary computer. We'll get into that. And there's many reasons. Chromebooks are more affordable. They're a great option if you want to save money. Their Chromebooks are portable because they're less powerful. They tend to be more lightweight and more easy to use. And so I always carry a Chromebook wherever I go. It's lightweight and it's an extra couple of pounds, and it's worth it to me to be able to be plugged in. If you have any need for a portable computer, taking it to your grandkid's house, taking it to Starbucks, whatever, portability is better. Chromebooks are designed to be easy to use. They were designed really about a little more than 10 years ago, whereas Macs and PCs were designed more like 30 to 40 years ago, and in a completely different era. Things have changed. Macs and PCs have tried to keep up, but a newer design makes sense. And so the user interface is more easy to use, and you can do things easier than you can necessarily with a PC or a Mac. When this effort was designed, the internet was already widely available 10 years ago. Hackers were understood quite a bit more. So it was possible to design systems different from PCs and Macs that had security as the #1 objective. It's based on a browser model, not on a standalone computer model. And so it can be updated constantly behind your back with security patches. It's also designed so that there's something called a sandbox, and we'll talk about that more in a bit. They are designed to last, so it's even though you can get very cheap ones, I've got some that are several years old and work just great. They're not designed to be upgraded. Instead, you just buy a new one. They're inexpensive. They're affordable, they're portable, easy to use, and secure. So consider that an option now, and we'll talk about quite a bit more about Chromebooks for the next 20 minutes. More though about this, and this again is a continuation of what Bart answered. Chromebooks are designed to work in the cloud. And what that means is that your files and programs are with you wherever you are, even if you switch computers, if you're at your grandkid's house, everything is there. You don't, you can have multiple Chromebooks because they are all almost a window into the internet, into the cloud. So if you have a lot of places to go, obviously they're great for students, but they're great for us who have a very active lifestyle and go a lot of places as well. Because they're not as powerful, the battery lasts longer. They have Google Assistant built in, so you can talk to them to do things. Chrome OS is the underlying operating system. It's constantly being updated with new features. And so, but it does it behind your back. So everything is always up to date and secure. You're not always thinking, oh, do I need to upgrade? Do I need to add the latest version to my phone because somebody told me that there's hackers that have found a hole in the previous one. So, and this again, Bard says, overall Chromebooks are a great option for people who are looking for an affordable, portable, easy to use, and secure laptop. And so if you're considering buying a new laptop, you should take a look at Chromebooks. And so this is what I say, a Chromebook is sufficient and probably preferable for 90% of Anthem Ranch computer users. But you don't have to trust me. Here's a description of Chromebooks versus laptops and how they're different and how to choose between them by an expert from the New York Times. Their tech column is called Wirecutter. And this is getting a bit old now, but it's still all very accurate. So one of the things I want to do as I do these tech shorts is depend on others' expertise and do that via showing you brief videos. So here we go.
I think it's like an important thing to explain to people, like what the difference is. No, they're absolutely not the same thing. Chromebooks and Windows laptops and Mac laptops are all physically laptops. They all have screens and keyboards and they do things that laptops do. But Chromebooks run Chrome OS, which is an operating system that's built on the Chrome browser. So it means that you can do anything that you can do on a browser. You can check your email, you can check social media, you can work in Google Docs and spreadsheets and PowerPoints, watch Netflix, you can take Zoom calls, you can do all of those sort of things. So Chromebooks first started coming out in 2011, and they got a reputation very early on for being crappy and not being able to do very much. And around 2014, they actually stopped being super cheap and super crappy. Manufacturers started making ones that were fast enough. Most of the things that you wanted to do could be done in a browser. And then a couple of years ago, actually, Google added Android apps into Chromebooks. So that kind of fills a bunch of holes of very specific things that you weren't able to do on Chromebooks. So some of the limitations of Chromebooks are that you can't run specific programs that you can run on Windows or Mac. For example, iTunes, Photoshop, or specific Windows games, you're not going to be able to run those. Chromebooks do have Chrome extensions and Android equivalents that fill some of these holes, but there are definitely certain apps that you straight up cannot run on a Chromebook. Chromebooks also tend to have little local storage, and they rely on cloud storage provided by Google, and they work best with an internet connection, even though there are some offline modes for Gmail and Google Docs. Chromebooks tend to be cheaper than Windows laptops for similar specs, and whenever you have a similarly priced Chromebook and a similarly priced Windows laptop, the Chromebook is typically going to be faster, it's going to be better made, it's going to have longer battery life, and it's typically going to be more portable than these cheap Windows laptops. I think most people are solidly served by a Chromebook. It'll do everything that you need it to do. But if you play a lot of games, you probably don't want a Chromebook unless you're willing to stream them through one of the game streaming services that are becoming more popular right now. If you need a specific app that your school requires and they don't recommend that you use a Chromebook, then you probably want a Windows laptop for a Mac. And if you're like a heavy video or photo editor, you probably don't want a Chromebook. So if you're looking at a $500 Chromebook and you're looking at a $500 Windows laptop, that Chromebook is probably going to be faster in the things that you use it for. Cheap Windows laptops tend to only have 4 gigs of memory, and that's a huge limitation on Windows, whereas Chrome OS is a lighter operating system and it runs better on less RAM. And those Chromebooks also tend to be better made, they have better build quality, they have longer battery life, and they tend to be smaller and more portable. The Lenovo Chromebook Flex 5 is our top pick for Chromebooks because it's inexpensive at around $400. It's fast enough for the things that most people need to use a laptop for. It has a great keyboard and trackpad, and it also has a handy touchscreen. Small and light, and the battery life is decent, but it's not the best compared to some of our other picks. So our upgrade pick is the Google Pixelbook Go, and it costs around $650. Chromebooks have historically a terrible rap as being cheap and slow. This one, however, is smaller and lighter than pretty much every other Chromebook I've ever tested. It has an excellent keyboard and trackpad, and it's about as well made as a MacBook Air or Windows Ultrabook, but it costs hundreds of dollars. It's my personal favorite Chromebook that I tested, and it's actually what I used to cover the Consumer Electronics Show earlier this year. So the Acer Chromebook 712 is our more durable pick for kids. It costs around $300. It's fast enough, which is a really big deal for such a cheap Chromebook. Most Chromebooks in this price range are miserably slow, and it's extra durable. It has bumpers and a spill-resistant keyboard. It can handle up to about 1.5 cups of water dumped into it. Wirecutter editor Thorin Kozlowski has actually seen the kids' computers dump water into the previous version of this laptop, and we did the same thing for photos for our guide. It's still working, but it does have a terrible low resolution screen that looks faded and washed out. So that's the trade-off for such a cheap. If you have any questions about I think it's like an important thing to explain to people, like what the difference is. They're absolutely not the same.
There. All right. Although the editor is talking about comparisons with dozens or hundreds of PCs, again, we are a different target audience at Anthem Ranch than students who are actively using lots of different things on their PCs. And so I disagree with her in that some of the crappy ones would serve purpose very well, and we'll see that in a little bit. So I wanted to be playing another video, which is really an ad from Google, but it tells you a little bit more about what a Chromebook actually is.
Here's what you need to know about Chromebooks. Chromebooks are powerfully simple laptops. Powerful, they handle what's important to you, and designed in a way that makes them easy to use. Look, Chromebooks run Chrome OS, an operating system made by Google that's simple, speedy, and secure. To build them, all these partners teamed up with Google, and Google builds some too. So how are Chromebooks different? Everything's easy. To switch over from your old laptop, just log into a new Chromebook with your Gmail, and all your files and preferences are right there. Virus protection is built in, so you don't have to deal with this ever again. They save you tons of time. It only takes a few seconds to boot up the Chromebook. And when you're in, just hit the everything button. With one touch, it lets you find things instantly, like files, your apps, and answers online. And unlike most laptops, Chromebook software updates in the background automatically. So what can you do on a Chromebook? It has all the apps you want, and kind of wish you always had. Whoa, for work, for school, for winding down. You can edit your photos. That's nice. Fresh games, or just keep in touch. And that's what you need to know about Chromebooks.
Okay, so now you know a little bit more about what a Chromebook is, and I'll expand on some of those things through the rest of the presentation. Chromebooks are utilizing what's called Chrome OS. You've heard of Windows, you've heard of Mac OS, you've heard of the iPhone or iOS. It's an operating system, which means the underlying software, which is used to build all of the interaction capabilities and the foundation for applications to be built on. But this was again designed within the last 10, 15 years. And so it was designed to be more secure and lightweight rather than a standalone PC environment, which had to have everything. Now it assumes that the internet is there and the internet is accessible. And so a lot of things can be offloaded to it. There are automatic updates and security features are built in. So it's much more safe. virtually zero chance of a malware or a virus. You can do stupid things, and it's not impossible that you'll see something that is bad, but it's much less likely to occur. So for non-techie users, like many of us who are more susceptible to online threats, that peace of mind is increasingly important. And that's one of the reasons why I use Chromebooks almost exclusively in my day-to-day life. A little bit more about security.
A Chromebook is a lot safer to use than a regular computer. It's designed to keep your browser secure and protect against the bad things that are out there on the web. On your Chromebook, each website and web application you open runs as a separate and independent process in a restricted environment called the sandbox. Sandboxing is a feature built right into the operating system to enhance security. Here's how it works. Let's say you open 3 different websites in 3 different tabs. Sandboxing keeps each website isolated from the others. So, if you open a website that's been infected by malware, they can't affect the other tabs in your browser or anything else in your machine. The threat is contained in one tab, and even if that tab crashes, the other tabs will continue to run normally. Every time you boot your Chromebook, it does a self-check called verified boot. If it detects that your OS has been tampered with or corrupted, the OS will be restored automatically from a known good backup. And if a backup is unavailable, you can download one yourself from the cloud. Your Chromebook will be as good as new as if nothing happened. And what's really great? Your Chromebook does everything on its own with its built-in security features, keeping you and your data safe. So you can breathe just a little bit easier when you're out there on the web. A Chromebook is a lot safer to use than a regular computer.
Okay, so I think we now know that Chromebooks are secure. They're inexpensive. They are in many ways superior to a PC. Some disadvantages as well, but I think we've covered that. What happens? I've had a few people, friends that I've talked to, that say, you know, I'm used to a desktop. Why do I want a laptop? Well, a laptop, Chromebook doesn't mean necessarily that it's a laptop. The term Chromebook is kind of generically used. It is possible to have a desktop configuration. This is, as we all know, kind of the classic laptop. In the industry, it's called the form factor, what it looks like, how things plug into it. There's something called a Chromebox. And when I say Chromebook, I'm using generically the term, it does include Chromeboxes. If you are absolutely certain that you never need a laptop, if you're always going to use this at your desk, you can buy one of these, which will attach, you can attach your favorite or existing monitor and keyboard and mouse to. And if this looks familiar, you might have been sitting in the library. There are 2 of these in the Aspen Lodge Library. However, with a couple of friends, I've encouraged them to pursue a route where you actually can have both a laptop and a desktop, and it only requires one plug to change from one to the other. If you were in the industry, you might have heard of something called a docking station, and those have been driven down so that really you just have to have a single plug into a USB-C outlet on your laptop, and everything will look like it's a desktop. Chromebooks integrate with Google Suites of productivity tools, docs, sheets, slides, and Zoom works on it. There are Google Meet and other things, so it's possible to participate in communities, connect with loved ones. You can do shared projects using the Google Suite. So there's all the things that you may have considered doing or needed to do in the past. You can still continue to do those. And I've said many times, it's less expensive. Here's kind of the range of prices that you can get a Chromebook or Chromebox. On the high end, I've never myself even spent more than $600 on a Chromebook because I don't need to. I don't need anything that powerful. In the mid-range, call it $300 to $600, they're powerful enough, and I have 2 or 3 of those. More towards the lower end, $150 to $300. That's really adequate for almost everybody in the Anthem Ranch community that could benefit from a Chromebook. And there are bargain basement ones as well. And if you are thinking about trying out a Chromebook, you can get a very inexpensive one. Or if you want a laptop that you can take with you when you travel, a bargain basement one might serve you just fine. if you might consider having a second unit, or if you don't need a computer right now, you have a PC or Mac that you're happy with, you could buy a bargain basement unit to supplement your PC and just experiment with it for a while. I have little doubt that most of our time is spent doing emails or checking Facebook or something that can be done very easily and comfortably. So you don't have to, I mean, if you keep your Chromebook next to your favorite living room chair, you grab it and do something without having to get up and walk across the house to your desktop PC. I recommend that you consider buying at Costco, just for various reasons. I just captured this page from the Costco website in the last 3 days, and you can see prices. These are kind of the high-end ones that they provide in $300 to $500 range, and these are quite powerful and will serve your needs. They go down quite a bit in price as well. And down in this case down to $220. And I have bought Chromebooks myself that fit quite well in that category. But one of the reasons I recommend Costco is they have much better customer service, and they come with a 2-year warranty from the date of purchase if you have any problems. But you can consider the bargain basement as well. Best Buy seems to be a really good source for bargain basement Chromebooks. And I wouldn't do that if you expect this to be your primary computer, but if you're considering it as a second one or just something to try out for a year or two, you can go to Best Buy. Here's one that was just on sale over the weekend. The sale's over, but $149. It was a $300 Chromebook and selling for half price. And I have one very similar to this one. We were talking earlier about, well, combining the price and the form factor. I have one client who had a Chromebook which she couldn't use anymore. And we discovered a $99 Chromebook on Black Friday sale last November. And I bought one of those adapters for her. And her existing monitor, keyboard, and mouse were just fine. So for $131, she got a new computer, which is continuing to serve her needs just fine. And here's some more bargain basement ones that you can find on Best Buy. It's not uncommon to be able to find a Chromebook available in the $100 to $120 range. It's just you have some things to be careful about if you go into that range. And so I thought I should explain a little bit about that if you're going out and buying one. There's something called auto update expiration. And that Google has decided that rather than say, 5 years from now, your Windows 7, your Windows 10, whatever is not going to work, and we might extend it and we might not. They tell you up front that we are going to support this computer with updates for a certain number of years. And during that time, we talked about the updates happening. They will continue to update and continue to work for that time. Once it's reached its AUE, auto update expiration date, you can't receive software updates. So that's something that you want to keep track of. Your Chromebook is going to be falling behind and won't automatically be updated to handle the latest security threats, or may not be able to run some apps and browser extensions. So one way of thinking about it is, say if your AUE date is 7 years out and you're spending $200, I think of it as instead as you're paying $28 a year for that computer. RAM, 4 gigabytes is enough. There used to be 2 gigabyte Chromebooks. I don't see those anymore. So 4 gigabytes is good enough. 8 gigabytes is better if it's going to be your primary machine. A lot of apps are starting to use touchscreen because Android apps normally are designed to work on a smartphone. So a touchscreen is a nice feature to have. The processor matters, but not as much. If you are a really heavy duty user, the way I use Chrome, I often have 20 or 30 tabs open. So a more powerful processor can be helpful. There are other factors that may be more specific to how you use your computer. How much storage you have locally. Since you're using the cloud for storage, your local storage is less relevant unless you're doing some heavy duty files, videos, etc. If you're going to be using your Chromebook in the dark, having a backlit keyboard is nice. You like listening to music from your computer, quality speakers, the camera and microphone, so you can do like I'm doing now, Zoom. And a fingerprint reader to make the login even faster. Rather than a few seconds, it'd be a second or two. Chromebooks rely heavily on Chrome-based, cloud-based services, as we said. So your files are not stored in general on the computer that's sitting in front of you. They're stored someplace else, and they're secure there. But that means not only do you not need local storage, but if you lose your, you take your Chromebook on a trip and you lose it someplace, you're not losing data then. It's safe someplace else, and all you need to do is buy a new Chromebook. And the hackers aren't going to be able to access your data without your Google login. So you can access your file from any device that has an internet connection. However, one requirement is that you have to have a Google account. And for security reasons, you want to make sure that it has a strong password. Here's another video, just a section from the video about that last topic of having a Google account and why.
You need to know that a Google account in general isn't just another thing. It's kind of the gateway to using a Chromebook to its fullest potential. And there's not really a way to use it without one. Sure, you can jump in guest mode, and that's one of the options when you go to log in. And you'll use guest mode from time to time. Somebody will need to use your Chromebook, log out, pop it into guest mode, and let them go to town. When they log out, everything they did is gone. That's great. And it's one of the great things about Chromebooks is that they are account driven, meaning all the things that you set up, all the things you download, all the things you do, all the stuff that you accumulate follows that account. And so we're talking about settings, Wi-Fi passwords, all of that stuff is logged into your personal account so that if you drop this Chromebook, lose this Chromebook, move on to another Chromebook, need to just jump into another Chromebook, you can just log in, give it a few seconds to sync up, and everything you had set up on your device will be at your disposal on this other device. A Google account is kind of the keys to the kingdom here. It's going to give you access to Google Docs. It's going to give you access to Gmail, to Google Calendar, to Google Photos, Google everything. Basically, it's all tied to that account. So it is something that is absolutely necessary. And again, one of the cool parts about it is with all this stuff being connected to your account, you can also lend your Chromebook to other people. Let them sign in with their account. All their stuff's there. It's all siloed. You can't get to it. They can't get to your stuff. It's all completely separated. And you can jump back and forth between accounts really, really quickly and really easily by logging out or just switching accounts. And so it brings a lot of power to the table. And so don't be afraid of signing up for that Google account. You'll need it, you will use it, and it will make your Chromebook experience really, really great.
No, before I move on to the next topic, one thing, everybody in this audience probably already has a Google account. You might not know it's there. Some people get Google accounts mixed up with Gmail accounts. People have Google accounts. Somebody, I don't know if you were interrupting me or just accidentally spoke and your mic is on. Okay, well, anyway, you probably have a Google account. Be careful. I mean, you don't have to set up a separate one. You don't have to receive your mail from Google, but that account is necessary. Chromebooks have a lot of accessibility features built in. I don't use many of these. Maybe some of you do these things on your PC, etc., but they have magnification, text-to-speech, voice recognition. These are all things that as we all become more chronologically enhanced, different people will find different advantages to use. Google has a very extensive support system. I still recommend Costco because you have them as a gateway and they might solve some of your easier problems, but there's a lot of resources. Chromebooks are very, very popular in schools. And so there are a lot of resources that have been figured out in order to help teach kids to use Chromebooks, and they are available to you as well. So you should feel like anything, if you're moving from a PC to a Chromebook, it's a transition. Everything is available online so that you can learn as you need to. And of course, this process that I'm suggesting where we can build a special interest group from inside a tech club to answer questions should be there for you as well. If you are intrigued, but you're not sure, there are 2 of these in the Lodge library, and you use guest mode. Robbie mentioned that in the last video, that a guest mode is available. Costco has a 30-day return policy. So if you see one if you want to try it, you can go to Costco and buy one. And if it doesn't suit your needs, you can return it. I have a loaner or two I'm willing to put out if those other options don't work for you for one reason or another. And I am going to create this sub club, if you will, on these various topics, and figure out how to make sure that those that are interested or active users with Chromebooks can build a smaller community as more and more people use Chromebooks over time. And I mentioned the guest mode. So if you are going to the library or if you are borrowing my Chromebook, this is how to use the guest mode. Oops. For some reason my keys aren't working here. Okay. So should you switch? This is kind of a summary and we're almost done.
Hey, need a laptop that boots up as fast as 6 seconds when you're running late? It's switching time. How about a battery that lasts up to 12 hours? Order up. Now we're cooking. Or how about one with virus protection built in, which would be helpful right about now. Yeah, if you want all that, switch to Chromebook. Hey, need a laptop?
So bottom line, and I've said this many times already, if you want a simple, affordable, secure, reliable laptop, Chromebook is something that you should consider as an option. And this group that I intend to create, if this is something that you're interested in, send me an email, DanTheGeek at Maggenheimer.com or Dan@Maggenheimer.com, and put the word Chromebook in the subject. And I will assume that that means that you're interested in staying in touch as more people start getting involved and asking questions. And I'll make sure that more information gets to you to answer your questions and maybe some questions that you didn't know you had yet. So I'm going to open the floor for questions now. I saw one, actually, I saw one question already, and by chance, I happened to predict that that was going to be a question. There is an article, Chromebook versus iPad. Many of you have iPads and may think that it's serving your needs. And if it is, that's great. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. And this article seemed like a really good overview of why you might choose one over the other. And now I'll open it up questions.
Hey, Dan, is there a charge for a monthly for Chromebook, like to pay for the software? Or is that all included in the price?
The software is all included in the price. The cloud storage, with every Gmail account, I think 15 gigabytes of storage is included, which will get you a long way. But if you go beyond that, then you start getting into a monthly charge, which is relatively small, I think a couple of bucks a month. So you can spend all your time trying to clean up and keep your total storage usage in the cloud less than 15 gigabytes. Or you can do other things like golf or whatever and pay them $2 a month. I made my decision on that a long time ago. It's to my advantage to pay a little bit more, and I have, I think, 200 gigabytes of storage available. And at some point I'll run into that and maybe pay a little bit more. That answer your question? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? Think about it. You have some new food for thought, let's just call this. And I think that's the purpose of this Tech Shorts. It's not necessarily to convince you of anything. It's just at least make you aware of something. And we can talk more via email, in the lodge, or whatever. And I'll also try to connect you up with other people who are in a similar state of mind. Any other questions?
Is there an easy way to bring over files from that you're storing on Dropbox to
go ahead. Was your question complete? I'm sorry I interrupted.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking whether it's easy to get files from Dropbox to Chrome.
A fair question. There are a lot of cloud services out there, some of them that people have been using for a long time, and Dropbox is one of those. In this case, I can't answer for Dropbox specifically, but you're talking about a cloud-to-cloud transfer then from Dropbox to Google. I know Dropbox is accessible from any Chromebook, but I don't think it's as integrated as Google Cloud. So I'm not sure you would move it. If you're happy with what you've got, you can still access those things from your Chromebook. It will just be as much effort as on a PC. Whereas if you're using Google's cloud, then files are almost appear as if they are on your computer. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
All right. Any other questions? If not, I think I'm going to call it a day and I'll consider the job done. I guess it was 40 minutes instead of 30. But thank you. And this will be available on the web exactly on the Tech Club website. But I'm also thinking about doing something separate for DanTheGeek Tech Shorts. Talk to you all later and hope you have a great rest of the week. I'm going to log out now.
Thanks, Dan.